Let's face it, staredowns are one of the best parts of any fight. As sports introduce more fighters with showmanship personalities, the staredowns grow increasingly funny, providing fans with moments that will leave them in stitches. Before we get into 20 of these hilarious occasions, why not hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell? That way you will never miss a future upload. Number 20. Silva vs. Weidman. Things got a little bit spicy during the UFC 162 weigh-ins between middleweight champion Anderson, the Spider, Silva, and challenger Chris Weidman prior to their fight on July 6th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. It seems the kiss gave some luck to one fighter as Chris Weidman KOs Anderson Silva in the second round, ending his 17-fight win streak and becoming the new UFC middleweight champion of the world. Number 19, Werdum vs. Volkov. Fabricio Werdum appeared to be taking a page from the WWE handbook and brought a steel chair for his weigh-in with Alexander Volkov. The tense moment is instantly broken when Fabricio uses the chair to tower over his opponent. 18, Stare Contest. One kid wasn't going to pass up a good stare-down opportunity at the NCAA Baseball World Series. Not surprisingly, the clip went viral. With the intense glare he gives, I'm sure the camera was intimidating into blinking first. 17, Bennett vs. Kimura. Some people just love the spotlight, especially Charles Bennett, when he weighed in with Minoru Kimura during Risen FF2. Even after he stepped off the scales, he continued to grab the attention of the audience with over-exaggerated poses that began to crack up everyone in the room. 16. Felice Herrig vs. Nicodali Rivera-Kolonak. In the now infamous weigh-in between Felice Herrig and Nicodali Rivera-Kolonak, we certainly got to see the claws come out between the two fighters, which resulted in a funny moment that resembled chickens pecking at each other. 15. Chuck Liddell vs. Tito Ortiz. The stare-down between Chuck Liddell vs. Tito Ortiz started off quite intense, but soon became a hilarious moment when Chuck Liddell begins gesturing towards his opponent, who returns with a belly jiggle. At this point, it would be hard to believe that Liddell had already knocked Ortiz out 2 times before his weigh-in, followed by a third the very next evening. 14. Don Fry vs. James Thompson. The stare-down between Don Fry vs. James Thompson gets so intense, they end up resembling balls of Play-Doh being squashed together. 13. Kozak vs. Mike Pierce. When your opponent has such distinguishable hair, like that of Josh Kozak, it's no surprise that a fighter with a sense of humor will take the opportunity to don a curly blonde wig to poke fun. Josh took the joke in his stride, and it made for a great photo. 12. Dodson vs. Lineker. John the Magician Dodson seemed to be having the time of his life when he climbed the stairs with his pants halfway down his legs. What adds to this clip is the seriousness of his Brazilian opponent John Lineker. Even with the face-to-face photo opportunity, Dodson takes the moment to get a laugh from the audience. 11. Cutlaba vs. Wilson. During the UFC Fight Night 96 weigh-ins, UFC's Ion Cutlaba thought he would attend in fancy dress, painting himself to resemble the infamously strong Incredible Hulk from the Marvel franchise. It's clear that his opponent, Jonathan Wilson, didn't want to get too close to the green paint in case it rubbed off. 10. Rawlings vs. Clark. Not all MMA fighters come onto the weigh-in stage with confidence and fire. That is obvious at this one between Bec Rawlings and Jessica Rose Clark, where the two awkwardly fumbled with each other's hands before sharing a nice hug. 9. Van Zandt vs. Watterson. As we have seen throughout this video, fighters can come up with genius ways to make a weigh-in more fun. Well, Paige Van Zandt went all out when she challenged her rival Michelle Watterson to a dance battle, something the fighter was happy to oblige. 8. Perez vs. Turman. Marcus Perez brought up an interesting question during the Sao Paulo ceremonial weigh-ins. Why so serious? Perez had made himself look like Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, and even did an impression in the face of his opponent, Wellington Turman, who took it in good spirit. 7. Fury vs. Wallin. Of course, funny man Tyson Fury had to get a mention on this list for his stare-down with Otto Wallin, where it is clear from the start that he is not taking the whole thing seriously. It results with Fury shrinking down to Wallin's size and pulling funny faces. 6. McGregor vs. Rousey. In this next clip, Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey stare each other down with a stance that would surely make the devil back off. But not all is what it seems, as both break into laughter. 5. Jones vs. Cormier. In 2014, a huge brawl broke out during the Jon Jones vs. Daniel Cormier press conference. Now, that in itself isn't funny, but what happened to UFC's Dave Scholler definitely was, when he tried to get in between the two and ended up falling into the banner, tearing down the makeshift set. 4. Barry vs. Struve. Let's face it, audience want to see some weird stuff, especially when it comes to the world of UFC. Well, organizers must have known this was the case when they paired Pat Barry and Stefan Struve together, creating the largest height difference in the history of the sport. The result at the weigh-ins was hilarious, as Pat Barry stayed on the scales to be at the same height as his 7-foot opponent, before stepping down and peering up at him. 3. Jones vs. Johnson. When it comes to MMA, tensions rise and bubble over extremely quickly. In this next clip, we see UFC President Dana White standing between Jon Jones and Anthony Johnson when the two fighters burst into a brawl. But not all is what it seems, as both fighters reveal the scuffle to be a prank, to the relief of White. 2. Perry vs. Lim. It's always a cruel trick to go in for a handshake and then pull it away when the other person goes in for it. Well, that's exactly what Mike Perry did to his opponent, Huynh Nguyen Lim, during the 202 weigh-ins, after which he shouted, "Thought you had a friend, boy?" after letting out a scream. Savage. And number 1, Sean O'Connell. If there were ever a reward for the best comical weigh-in, it would have to go to Sean O'Connell. The light heavyweight UFC fighter has time and time again come up with inventive ways to break the ice and give the audience a few laughs. It's bizarre to see some of the stone-faced fighters crack a smile and even play along with his antics. And that concludes our list of 20 of the funniest stare-downs in sports. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification buttons. That way you'll never miss a future upload. Thanks for watching.